Hello, my name is Kobe Kushner. I'm an analyst here at Red Cloud Securities. Big shout out to the TMX group for sponsoring this session. We're about to hear from David Thornley-Hall of MegaWatt Lithium and Battery Metals. Contrary to its name, this is a lot more than just a lithium company. They've got 9 projects there at Canada and Australia that cover all sorts of commodities, mainly in battery metals, but also in precious metals, base metals, rare earths, uranium, etc. Dave, you have about 15 minutes, which we will follow through with about a 5-minute Q&A session. Viewers, feel free to ask your questions at any time.
Thanks, Kobe. As Kobe said, introduced, I'm David Thornley-Hall. I'm CEO of MegaWatt Lithium and Battery Metals Corp. We are a Vancouver-based mineral exploration company. We're focused on advancing exploration projects in the batteries metal space. And these are our forward-looking statements. Please take a look. As I said, we're focused on the battery metal space with a particular emphasis on electronic vehicle revolution that we're really seeing right now. I doubt it's any surprise to anybody in the audience here how fast that's moving. It's really a global shift in what's going on. It's not something that's just in North America or only in or Europe. It's Asia. It's the entire world. It's an amazing change and always interesting for me to to review the numbers on this bar chart of the projections in terms of where we were at 2015 and where it looks like we're going. So the company is really wanting to be a part of this movement towards the shift in what's going on in transportation and a cleaner future that should come along with that. MegaWatt really wants to be an investment vehicle of choice for the market, for those investors that want exposure to the key commodities that are going to be part of the electric vehicle battery supply chain. It's important to us as well to be working in certain jurisdictions, the right jurisdictions in our mind, which are safe jurisdictions, which have a proper regulatory system in place. And for that reason, all our projects are found in either Canada or Australia. A couple of key themes. We want to be working in proven districts, in mining countries, in mining jurisdictions. We want to be actively exploring our projects in those jurisdictions. We've got an experienced team of experienced management team and technical team of explorers with great experience. The focus is on those battery metals and the EVs, and what a lot of that means for this company is a focus on lithium, cobalt, and silver. In terms of the opportunity with the company, the market cap is compelling. We believe at just over $10 million versus the competitive landscape, and we feel there's an opportunity there. And again, we want to be in those tier 1 stable mining friendly countries because it's a lot about managing the risk in this business, and that's one of the things that you can do to really help your chances. A little bit about our team. I've been in the industry for about 15 years, working on exploration projects in Canada, the US, Mexico, and Peru. I spent quite a chunk of that 15 years with a potash project in Saskatchewan, where the project was taken from staking through final feasibility and eventually the sale of a controlling interest to two separate Chinese entities that came in, one a state-owned entity and one a Chinese private equity that invested about $112 million for a controlling interest, and that project's going into construction and production. Kelvin Lee is our CFO. He's a CPA, CGA. He's done a great job of with the filings and keeping the finances up to date. Robert Kang is our independent director. He's a CA as well. He had a distinguished career at the TMX, which he's retired from after 23 years. Last was director of listed issuers there. And Jeff Reed is our Australian geologist, man on the ground in Australia. He's got a lot of in-country experience in Australia, outside of Australia as well, and he's got a great understanding of the Canadian regulatory environment, such as 43101 requirements. What we're seeing in the battery metals, and we're trying to keep our eye on moves and look to the future as best we can, as everybody else tries to do. It looks like, from our point of view, that it could be nickel, lithium, and cobalt are the ones with the highest growth multiples ahead of us. And we identify silver as a really important part of this this group of metals that are going to see this great demand increase. Lithium, we're all aware of the importance of lithium and the growth in the market over the last few years and where it's going. No secret there. Cobalt we see as a metal with a bright future as part of those lithium batteries, lithium-based batteries. We notice there's quite a bit of talk about potential solutions that don't use cobalt. And we're going to see some interesting things happen on the technology over the next few years, but we still see cobalt having a really strong demand future. And silver is important for us and has been since we got started. In addition to its precious metal value, there's no denying that the conductive properties of silver are second to none, really important going forward in the electrification of the economy. And silver's use in photovoltaic solar cells is only going to grow. As I mentioned, we want to be in the right places, doing the right kind of work as exploration operators, and so that means we've got an eye on what's going on in the cobalt production, global cobalt production. A lot of it coming out of Africa and the DRC, and the challenges that are faced there, some of which are on the labor side. Southeast Asian nickel production as well, the environmental challenges that are being posed with that, and watching what's going on in South America with lithium brine projects that are really water intensive and creating some challenges in cases with the local communities. Australia and Canada are generally ranked in the top 5 globally in terms of jurisdiction, investment attractiveness, and that's something that is always going to be important for this company. This gives a sort of a global summary of the projects that we have. In Canada, we have 3 projects. Cobalt Hill in BC is the company's first project. It's a gold target with an interesting cobalt showing on it. We had 2 drill holes permitted last year, which was a program that would be too small with just the 2 drill holes. We did a geophysical survey, an IP survey, which pinpointed 10 holes that we'd like to drill. So we've amended the drill permit application, which is a bit slow in southeastern BC, but we hope to have that program permitted this spring. On the lithium side in Quebec, in northern Quebec, we have 2 projects in the James Bay area, our Route 381 lithium project and our recently acquired Mitsumis lithium project. Then shifting to Australia, we've got the company's first two projects were the Tier project and the Century South project. Those are both silver, lead, zinc projects for us. Tier's in New South Wales, and Century South is in Queensland. We've got a couple of projects in Northern Territory, being Arctic Fox and Ishbourne, and those are prospective for rare earth elements, and Arctic Fox is prospective for uranium as well. We've got a couple of projects also in New South Wales where we haven't had feet on the ground yet, which are also in New South Wales, Kodiak and Caribou, which are prospective for cobalt, scandium, aluminum. Back to Canada, this map gives you an idea of our two locations in the James Bay region. The recently acquired Mitsumas project is a little bit northeast of our Route 381 project. It's a big piece of land, 229 claims or 12,000 hectares. One of the things that attracted us to it is it's accessible by way of power lines which gives ATV access, whereas Route 381 and many projects in the area are helicopter only access. Route 381, we've got a project, it's right in the neighborhood where there's just an enormous amount of activity, which is really exciting. Some recent, some a little bit longer established, such as Nemaska's Wabouchi project has been advancing for a while. Critical Elements Rose project is working through engineering, and Galaxy's defined a substantial resource at their James Bay project, 40 million tons, over 1% lithium. We also neighbor the Pontax project just to the east of us, which has seen an exciting drill hole of 30 meters over 1% lithium. We've got one historic grab sample on our Route 381, a little over 2.5%. Back to BC, Cobalt Hills in the East Kootenays, as I was saying, east of Castlegar. Really good infrastructure there to get at it. Can get at it year round. Again, two types of gold mineralization on that property. There are high grade veins, somewhat narrow in one section, and then a larger area of lower grade disseminated gold, which we are really interested to target with the drill when we can. And again, this cobalt showing, which will also be tested in our 10-hole drill program. Original Tier project in Australia, where we've completed a 43-101 report since we've held it. A couple of old time historic producing mines, sub 100,000 ton resources back in the day, very high grade, close to a kilo of silver and 20% zinc on those at the time, and then the Thornley line sort of kind of half the numbers that you would see at Burra. At the end of March, we hope to be running a geophysical program there, ground magnetic program, to see if those two mines join up, in fact. Two deposits, I should say. Century South is in Queensland, which is an area of real world beater type of deposits, really large. Great infrastructure up there, a lot of resources for making exploration possible. Kodiak and Caribou are the New South Wales projects where we haven't yet been able to get on the ground. We will be this season. Again, they are prospective for cobalt, nickel, scandium, and some aluminum. Arctic Fox, actually, that's Northern Territory, prospective for rare earths, including NdPr, the so-called magnet metals, which are which are in great demand for the electric motors. We neighbor a company called Aerofura, which has been doing a great job advancing an exciting property called Nolan's Bore, where they've defined a JORC compliant resource rare earth deposit. And the market's starting to really take notice of the work, which has taken them a bit of time, but it looks really interesting, and the market cap is over $200 million now. Ishbourne is neighboring the Arctic Fox property, and in the vicinity there's another rare earth deposit called Charlie Creek. So it's a highly prospective area, and we're really excited about the work that we're going to be doing there. So we've got a portfolio of projects, and it's a lot to work through. The focus is likely to be for us Northern Quebec and probably the Northern Territory projects, which are the ones that we're finding the most interesting at the moment. With the other projects that we have, we'll likely look to JV them out, seeing some inbound interest from Australia. The market is so strong there that there's a lot of interest in projects. Some we can sell, drop, and really focus on the ones that we feel are going to become the winners for us. Just a bit of a summary of the recent news. The Mitsui project was only just recently acquired by Staking. Really active around that area now. Somebody told me last week that 680 claims were picked up last week and around the area. So more and more attention just pouring into that area. We did raise $1.3 million through our partners at Red Cloud in November. Some of that Quebec flow through, so we'll look to apply some of those dollars there this season for sure. And going back to last summer IP survey at Cobalt Hill. One of the reasons we've got projects in Australia as well as Canada is that we can keep working around the year. We're not weathered out, for example, in Canada by being a one project company. During the winter, we can be actively exploring in Australia, and so we try to manage the seasonality of it that way. In terms of the share capital, issued outstanding right now is just a little over 71 million, and fully diluted is a little over 79 million with the stock options and warrants in place. And wanted to show this table just in terms of some comparables, some much more advanced projects, obviously, but some exploration as well, just to relative demonstrate what can be done in this market. We're still attracting a lot of investment interest, and as we advance our projects, we hope to move down that chain there. And that's MegaWatt. Thank you very much for that. And if there are any questions, please let me know.
Yeah, we have time for one or two. So, do any of your projects have historic resources, and can you tell us what they are?
Yeah, the Tier project in New South Wales has historic resources. Again, those go back a while. They're under 100,000 ton resources, where you saw a really high grade silver there, just a little under a kilo per ton, and around 20% zinc. And then the Burra mine has a historic resource as well, which is part of the Tier project, about half the size, and the grade is about half that of the Tory mine. So that's the one that has historic resource.
Okay. And are you guys planning to make this historic resource compliant, or is that going to require a lot more work to do so?
It would require some work. We did publish a 43-101 report on that project based on the work that we had done since we acquired it. To substantially increase that resource would require some drilling. And of course, we're open to do that if the indicators are right that there's something substantial there. And the work to be done there is, as I mentioned earlier, some geophysics to get a sense of what these deposits look like, and in the event that they join up with those sort of grades, that would be very interesting for us.